snatch it back and hold it, baby, one more time.
Today's episode might be a little bit geeky, but it's still really important. Most USB interfaces have a gain setting somewhere to set how strong your signal coming in is, and that can have a large impact on the final sound you get. So the problem is that a lot of them don't have meters or any kind of large meters to let you do this precisely, but there are other tools available that can help with this. Let's dig in. If you set your USB interface too high, things will clip and sound like crap. If you set it too low, you can starve the chain of enough signal to reliably reproduce the sounds the models were designed for. If it's too low, AmpliTube does have sliders that let you boost the signal, which can help with the input level for the model, but that doesn't do anything helpful for your signal-to-noise ratio. Ideally, you want to start with the best signal-to-noise ratio you can, which means setting the input to a good level, but not too high. On my interface, I have 3 green LEDs, 1 yellow LED, and a red LED. If the LED turns red, the signal is clipping. The manual has this graphic. I interpret that to mean that if I mostly get 3 green LEDs, that's great, but don't sweat it if I get some yellow. My experience has been that if yellow is on pretty consistently with normal playing, then the signal is going to be too hot. The AXIO comes with a control panel program with a much more detailed meter. When my pickups are getting no signal, there are no LEDs. When I strum moderately, you can see the LEDs light up to about the negative 20 dB level and slowly fade down to negative 60 and then off. If I strum hard, then I'm all the way above the negative 3 dB level. The clip LED did not light up and the yellow LED only flickered, so this is where I generally stay. I have noticed that what I think is hard when I'm testing this input tends to be a bit below how hard I can hit the strings when getting into the loud parts of a song. This seems good enough, but meters are a strange thing, and the manual doesn't present much info on how this meter is working. In the case of this meter, I suspect it might be showing me the peak audio signal that is coming in. I do have some proof for this opinion, so it's a little bit more than wishful thinking. I once ported Martin Zuthers K meter over to the Mac, so let me bring that up. I'll go into some details at the end of the video on how you can get this free meter. There are also other free volume meters out there, but this just happens to be the one I know the best. This meter is a little more explicit about what it's doing. The meter allows me to select RMS, that is root mean squared signal, or ITU-R. I won't go into all the details, but rest assured the internet can tell you more about the math than most of you want to know. I'll leave it on the RMS setting. I'll also switch it to normal so that the top of the scale is now 0 dB. The thing I'm really interested in, though, is this peaks function. And I'll also switch to discrete mode. It's a bit chunkier, but might make the levels easier to discern for those of you on small screens. If I turn on peaks, it shows me the hottest signal, that is the peak, that is detected with a little white box. It will hold the peak value for a short while before settling back down. The main meter is showing me the root mean square of the input values. It also shows the peak of this signal with a second white box. If I turn on the hold feature, the boxes stay at their highest reached level, and you can see that the peaks are more than 10 dB above the RMS value. It's kind of important to know if you're measuring RMS or ITU-R or peaks. And this, by the way, is what leads me to believe the AXIO meter might be showing peaks. It sort of corresponds with the clipping with what I see as peaks in this meter. With this setting, I still have a few dB of headroom when hitting the strings much harder than I normally do, so I think this is a good setting. If your USB interface doesn't have a good meter, but you have a DAW or any other audio program with a good meter, you can use it. If you want this standalone meter, let me show you how to install it on a Mac. What you download will include both a standalone version and a VST version. I have this meter installed as a VST plugin in Reaper. Get started by typing Rolias K meter into a search bar. With any luck, the first hit will be for my project on GitHub. Click the link. Note that I haven't done a port of the Mac version for 8 years, so this version will be behind the Windows version. The first item is a zip of the distribution folder for macOS. Click on it. In the resulting window, you can click that download icon. When the Save File dialog appears, navigate to where you want to save the file. I've already downloaded it, but I'll replace it. If you are on Windows or Linux, you can find that version on Martin Zuther's GitHub page. Just type Zuther and K-meter into a search engine, go to the GitHub page. If we scroll down a little, Martin has a link to the releases page. We can click that, and from here you can download standalone and VST plugin versions of the meter for your platform. Back to the Mac. Now I can go to the Downloads folder on my Mac, double-click the zip file, and it will unpack into its own folder. The application is the file at the top. Note that there is also a PDF manual if you want more details on this meter. At this point, you can drag it into your Applications folder or launch it from here. You can't double-click to launch it, but you can right-click and select Open. You can read the warning, and if you want to trust the app, you can click Open. It's been a while since I've done this, but if I remember correctly, you will get prompted to give K-meter access to your microphone. You need to do that as the Mac thinks of your USB interface as a microphone. That can be done from the System Setting dialog. Down in the Privacy and Security section, enable the slider for K-meter. Once you've got all that done and you open the app, use the Options button and select Audio Settings and set the input to your USB device and the output to any device you want. I would leave the audio buffer size and sample rates at their defaults. Strum your guitar and you should see a signal. A couple of things to note. Make sure the expand button is off. That feature can be useful once you have everything working, but it expands the scale and only shows you a limited portion of the volume spectrum, and it's possible that portion won't be on screen and you'll think the meter's not working, so make sure that's off. Also, the true peak and peak values detected are captured at the top. The reset button will clear these. Okay, well, I hope that helps you get the correct input level and the best sounding models out of AT5. Rock and peace.